Dragons. The awe-inspiring, incredible and menacing creatures that have deep lore, epic tales and battles, and generally are one of the coolest things about the fantasy world as a whole, not just in World of Warcraft. When it comes to powerful dragons in World of Warcraft, they all have very unique stories, backgrounds and powers, and as soon as you delve into the lore around these dragons, you realise that the question of who is the most powerful is not such a simple one to answer. But today, we're going to try, beginning with the weakest. And when I say weakest, remember that this dragon is far from weak. Number 1. Dargonax. His name literally translating to Devourer in Draconic. Dargonax belonged to the Twilight dragon family. He was created by Sinestra through her twisted experiments. Sinestra also having given birth to some of Deathwing's children, such as Nefarian and his sister Onyxia. His powers were dark, such as his ability to vampirically drain magical energy from whatever source he chose, usually preferring to drain other dragons. Some believe this is why the Twilight dragons were created in the first place. After draining a dragon, Dargonax seemed to gain its powers too. The most notable example of this is when he drained a nether dragon known as Zaraku. He gained its abilities to shift into an ethereal form. Dargonax grew in size and strength, nearly rivaling the dragon aspects themselves, but his ability to absorb powers seemed to be his undoing. With Zaraku's energies inside him, Dargonax became destabilised and literally burned away, taking his mother Sinestra with him as he went. Number 2, and this one should be quite familiar, Ysera.
How would you like to sleep? Forever.
So now we're getting to the dragon aspects themselves. The proto-dragon leaders of the 5 dragon flights, altered by the Titans as a gift for defeating a mighty enemy. We will come back to this part of the story soon. Each dragon aspect was granted specific powers, and the first to mention on our list was Ysera, the Dreamer. She was able to get a full 8 hours sleep each night, even after having a 2-hour nap in the day. Okay, jokes aside. Ysera served to watch over the wilds of her realm, the Emerald Dream. She was the aspect responsible for the creation of Nozdormu, the original world tree and home of the Night Elves. It can be argued that Ysera is the weakest of the dragon aspects, if you look into the powers of the others. So let's continue. Number 3. Malygos, the Spellweaver, the guardian of magical wisdom.
Watch helplessly as your hopes are swept away.
Malygos had a mastery over magic, and it was his task to rule over it. His physical power was not equal to that of the other aspects, but he more than made up for that with his magical powers, almost being equivalent to that of a demigod. Malygos was defeated during in-game events by the hero, aided by the Red Dragon Flight. After suffering from insanity, Malygos began a war, seeking out rogue magic users who he deemed responsible for all of Azeroth's troubles. So the next dragon on our list put together a series of events that would put a stop to this. Number 4. Alexstrasza, the Lifebinder.
It is the fires within that burn the brightest.
The guardian of all life in the world of Azeroth. She has the power to grow forests, animate the dead, and resurrect the fallen. Due to her power and her control over life, she was named Queen of all the dragons. Although Alexstrasza was not free from trouble, the next dragon on our list should be very, very familiar, and caused his once fellow dragon aspects deep trouble. Number 5. Deathwing, the Destroyer.
I shall tear this world apart!
But he wasn't always known as Deathwing. He was formerly known as Neltharion, the Earth Warder, leader of the Black Dragon Flight, gifted with the strength of the earth itself and the deep places within, the basis of all things. Neltharion was also blessed with great wisdom and power, but he was susceptible, as are most, if not all creatures, to the will of the old gods. Driven mad, he was convinced to betray his fellow aspects, and create an artifact known as the Dragon Soul, lying to his allies, telling them that it would be used to destroy the Burning Legion. In reality, he used it to prove his power and wanted to command all other creatures to obey him, but this did not go to plan. Over time, Deathwing would fall further into madness and evil, his physical form shattering and leaving only seething, flaming hatred and power, his form to be held together with huge plates. Neltharion adopted the name Deathwing himself, abandoning entirely his former self and embodying the evil which had consumed him. It was said that he had shaped the land so that the races of Azeroth would not have to compete for resources, but in his rage and madness he undid that work and made it so that they would have to compete, and they would be wrapped up in the occupation we know today as war. A terribly dark story indeed, one extremely powerful dragon, but there are more. Number 6. Nozdormu, the Timeless One.
I can arrange for your parents not to meet.
With dominion over time, gifted by Amthul, the greatest of the Titans, Nozdormu is arguably the most powerful of the aspects. He uses his abilities to prevent others from discovering the secrets of time, removing threats however necessary when they arise. He is incredibly wise due to his ability to see through time, knowing what will occur or rewind time, repeating events if they did not happen as he felt they should. It is said that he can take any form he desires, often choosing to occur as a commoner or a peon. His power can also be seen as a curse though, for he knows how and when he will die, and until then, he cannot be killed. There is only one other dragon that rivaled the power of all the aspects. Number 7. Galakrond. For this one we need to step back in time before the aspects even existed. Galakrond was the most feared dragon in his time, beginning as a proto-dragon who once hunted with his fellow dragons for food. He suddenly changed and became a terror. As Galakrond grew in size, he began to eat the food of his other dragons, and then even began to devour dozens of other proto-dragons themselves. This was an unthinkable act. Cannibalism was not ever considered among dragons, but it got worse. The dragons that Galakrond devoured then rose as undead, mindless undead enslaved to Galakrond's will. Galakrond and his army of undead dragons grew rapidly, choosing to betray any potential ally that wanted to bargain with him, outsmarting those who tried to take him down. The dragons that would soon become aspects fought against Galakrond along with the help of Tyr, but only managed to end the battle by escaping. Galakrond's hunger grew and grew as the dragons learned to hide. He began to eat his own army of undead dragons. He was truly a monster. As Galakrond ate dragons, he mutated. He began breathing a sickly green mist, described as Malygos as slow death, and this kind of magic shared characteristics with fell magic. It is also possible that the old gods had some influence in Galakrond's behaviours and powers. Galakrond was without doubt the most powerful of dragons. Only after the 5 dragons Ysera, Malygos, Neltharion, Alexstrasza and Nozdormu had been granted their powers and made into the dragon aspects, they were able to, using every trick they could, defeat Galakrond by lodging a boulder in his throat, forcing him to choke to death. The aspects were concerned that others would follow the path of Galakrond, so the truth was concealed, and a rumour was created that the Titans had created them from Galakrond. So, there we have it guys, the 7 most powerful dragons in World of Warcraft, in terms of the lore. The book about the aspects is called Dawn of the Aspects. It's actually one of my favourite books from the Warcraft collection, and I massively recommend that you read it if you're into this part of the lore. I'll leave an Amazon link down below where you can buy it if you're interested. So what do you think guys? Which one of these is your favourite dragon? Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and be sure to subscribe for more content like this, and if you like the video, please give it a like. Thanks for watching guys, I've been LazyBeast, and I'll catch you next time.